All right, guys, today we're doing law of sines. So as a warm-up, I've just kind of remind you guys, when we did the ACT, we solved proportions, a fraction equaling a fraction. And the way that we solved those was we cross-multiplied. So you're multiplying together these guys and these guys. So let me write that out. 5 times 52 is equal to 12 times x, because that's what proportions do. So I've got my calculator off to the side here. 5 times 52 made 260 equals 12x. To get rid of the 12, I divide. So these cancel. And 260 divided by 12 turns out to be 21.6 repeating. All right, so the same way that we did law of cosines and it worked for any triangle, not just right triangles, same thing for law of sines. We can use it for any triangle in the whole wide world. All right, it says that you can use any two sides and angles, right? So whatever you have a full set of, do you have little a and big A? Then you can set up this fraction. You have little b and big B, you can set up this one. Little c and big C, right? Remember that the little letters stood for side lengths and the big ones stood for the angles, all right? So let's talk about when we can use law of sines. Now you don't have to have this memorized because the test will always tell you, but if you have two angles, I put a little note in here. All three angles inside a triangle must add up to make 180. So if you have two angles, you really have all three. And then one side, that is a great key for things. And then the other one, you have two angles and one side that is not between the angles. All right, so those are the places where law of sines is really good. All right, so here's our steps for solving law of sines. All right, step one, label up your triangle and figure out which you have to use. Now, part A is really important. Look for this one first. You should have a complete set of one letter. You should have the capital and the lowercase, the side and the angle. All right, and then wherever x is, that's going to make up our second fraction. And then we're just going to solve it, cross multiply. If you were supposed to find a side, then get the variable by itself by dividing. You're supposed to get an angle, get the sign by itself, and use inverses like we did in task 3. And then it's Desmos magic or calculator magic, whichever you're doing. So let's set up this first one. So first off, I see two angles here, this guy and this guy. I know that I can get that third angle because I can do 180. Triangles are always 180 minus 118 minus 22. And that tells me that this angle right here is 40. So let's look for what we have a full set of. All right, capital A I have, little a, this side length I do not. Capital B I have, little b, this side length I do not. Capital C I have, little c I have. So we're definitely going to use C over sine C. And let's look for what we're looking for. All right, we want AC. So AC is here. That's X. And that's a B. So we can set up little b over sine B. And now let's plug in what we know. I know that little c is 24 over sine 40. I know little b is X over sine 22. So here's my proportion. We're going to cross multiply, and I'm going to start writing it up here. So I'm going to multiply these two sides together, and I like to wait until the very last minute to put anything in the calculator. 24 sine 22 equals, when I multiply those two together, I get X sine 40. Now, if I need X by itself, this really says X times sine 40, so I can divide both sides. To make these cancel. And then look, I have X by itself. This goes into your calculator. So 24 sine 22, you can either use a handheld calculator or you can use Desmos. And I got 13.99 when I typed that in. Now, depending on what it tells you to round to, I'm going to round to the nearest tenths place. So here's the tenths place. That 9 bumps him up. Well, that 9 can't bump up anymore, so this is going to be 14.0. All right, so let's look at this second one. So first off, anytime you have two angles, you can always get that third angle by doing 180 minus all the other ones. So 180 minus 53 minus 44 gives us 83 degrees for this one. I want to ask myself, what do I have a full set of? Well, in this case, I have a full set of b's. There's the capital B, there's the lowercase b. So little b over sine of the capital B. And then I want to know what we're looking for. Well, it says AB. So this guy right here is x. And that's a little c. So I want to set up little c over sine of big C. All right, and from here, it's plugging in what we know. Little c over sine of big C. We're going to cross multiply. So multiply these guys and these guys. So that is 7 sine 53. Oh, I'm out of room. X sine 44. I want to divide by sine 44 to make that cancel out. And this is now calculator magic. 7 sine 53 over sine 44. If I'm rounding it to the nearest tenths place again, I get 8.0.